static fan on. Just plug it in, it switches on, and it's just like a static fan, so your balance stabilizes relatively faster. The first thing that you do is you turn that guy around, put in 3 caps. All of this stuff is in this box, which has your standard plate, your caps, and you essentially just put 3 caps in, close it, let it chill for a while, just to kind of like stabilize a little. And then this is, so for example, these are the plates that we would have collected from the 4th floor. They go into a clean CD disc. On every CD disc, you have the sample site with the cave. So this is ISCD, which stands for inner space crawl drapery. Then you have the plate number that was picked up, which is, if you ever forget, it's etched on the back, so it's 2627. 2627, then you initialize it with, this basically tells you who was on that cave trip. So Lakin and Ayang were on this particular cave trip. And then they picked up the plate August 23rd of 2019. You put up the same stuff on the side, so your plate or your cave site, ISCD, plate number, the date it was collected. The last thing that we do is actually putting in the weights. So you have a WI, standard I, WF, and standard F. WI stands for your weight initial, then you have a standard initial, weight final, standard final. So for your weight initial, you will refer to this notebook. I can maybe like go over the notebook. So there are 2 working notebooks. One of them says new plates, the other one says collected plates. So new plates basically has your initial weight. So after we sand the plates, clean them, dry them, we come and sort of number them. We have to weigh what their initial values were, and those are the numbers that you're seeing here. So for example, this says 2627. You go through this new plates book, find where it says 2627, it's right there. And then now you have your average weight initial. And then standard initial corresponds to the standard plate weight, which I will talk about in a second. Actually, now. So there are 2 parts to it. We have this standard plate, which has been going on for a number of years. Every weighing session that you do, you first of all turn on the fan. We just did that. Calibrate it, let it chill for a minute, and then we just like, yeah, that's what essentially calibrate means. Like, and then also tearing it to 0. Yeah, it just calibrated. You put in your initials, you put your date, you put the date of your weighing session. So the first thing that you do is you always bracket your weights with your standards. So that's what it says, standard 1, that's the standard plate. You weigh it 5 times, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that essentially means taking this plate out, putting it on those holes, getting the weight, noting it down. You do that 5 times, and then you pretty much write out what the weight says. You get an average of that, and that becomes your first standardized average. Then you move on to the plate. So this is the first set of weights that you do when you have completely new plates. So then you get your plate. This is a new plate, 2640. Again, you put it on this weigh 3 times, get an average. You typically do it for 5 plates, 3 to 5, and then you bracket it with another standard. So this is just something that you do out of practice to make sure that your weights are bracketed by standards, so there's not that much variation going on year to year with either the standard plate or the scale itself. So for example, if the standard plate is chipped, that's not good, because that means you're essentially deviating from what the standard has been for multiple years. So when you're done with your initial weighing, you have 2 standardized average weights. You get that average, and then you get the initial standard weight. So that's what this guy is. So the weight initial is 2627. So 2627, that's the weight initial. And then your standard initial is this guy right over here. So 55.387. And then you will notice as you start doing this that the standard weight through time has pretty much been the same. So it's only the last 2 digits that typically change, which is good, which again shows that your weighing scale, it does not have a lot of variability, which is good. So this is like 06, that's 09, that's 61, so on and so forth. So it's 55.387 is usually, it should remain the same, and it's your last 2 digits that change a little. If, for example, you're not getting 55.387, that means maybe you need to wait a bit more for your scale for the values to stabilize, plug in the scale, the static fan, plug that in and out to figure out why you're not getting 55.387. That happens sometimes, and that's like when you discuss with the other students what's happening. Okay. So that's for weight initial and standard initial. Now, today, what we're doing is weight final and standard final. So, for that, carefully place that there, place this here. We pull out the collected plates book. So the collected plates book is, now that we have collected our plate, we are going to start the second round of weighing. So again, the same thing. This is, I think the last time I did it was with Sitting Bull Falls. You put in your date, initialize it, turn the fan on, calibrate it, and then you put in what plate you're weighing essentially. So again, today what we're going to do is we're going to get the standard out, weigh it 5 times, get an average, get our plate out, which is this guy right here, write out ISCD, hashtag, you put the plate number 2627, you weigh that out 3 times, get a number. Again, you bracket it with either 3 or 5 plates. In this case, there were just 3 plates. And then you weigh the standard again 5 times, you get an average, and then the average of these 2 becomes your final standard average. So again, it's 55.387, and it's the last 2 digits that have changed. So my weight final will be a new weight that I will make a note of in this book, and then write it out over here. And then similarly, my standard final will be a new final that I will get by the end of this weighing session. Okay. Yeah, I think you can stop.